Hello and welcome back to Milestone Health with me, Dr. Mokera J. I'm a family physician, a public health expert, a mental health enthusiast, and an ardent supporter of all things wellness. My vision is a world where everyone thrives from one milestone to the next and achieves their full potential due to good health. My message is shared freely to the entire world, and it contains useful content for thriving. Today, I bring to you the third and final section of the Milestone Health series on GBV. Last time we went into details on the types of GBV so that you and your family can easily identify GBV and take steps to get assistance for yourself or someone else you are concerned about. Now, just to mention that while this is my last video in this series, there is still so much more to understand about GBV. For quick reference, I have put together an easy-to-understand handbook about responding to GBV. You can easily access this handbook through the link below and refer to it from time to time. You can also share it with others who may need it. Today's topic is risk factors for gender-based violence, or GBV. Remember, in our definition of GBV, there is an aspect of power, control, and one person being subordinate to another. So how does this happen, or what are the things that could make you or your family member be at risk of experiencing abuse? There are three categories of risks that I will talk about in this video. These have been researched on by scientists, and it would be wise for all of us to always keep this at the top of our minds. Now, risk category 1, individual factors. These, as the name suggests, are factors that are related to a person, often the victim. They include things that make them vulnerable to abuse from others. Examples are being under the influence of psychoactive substances, for example, alcohol and other psychoactive drugs. This affects the ability to make decisions or even discern danger in the form of gender-based violence. Another example is being of the female gender. It has been found through research that being female increases the risk of abuse, mostly due to the physical makeup as well as less physical strength to fight off attackers or perpetrators. Another example in this category is age, where you have younger age being a risk factor. Children and young people often fall prey to perpetrators who take advantage of their trusting nature. Next is education. Being uneducated means that one lacks information about gender-based violence, and this increases their risk for experiencing the same. Another example in this category of risk factors is working in isolated fields. This means that when one is attacked, there will be little chance that others will hear and come to their aid. Next, we have things like pornography, prostitution, and sex tourism. This is another risk factor, especially because in most countries there are no laws protecting a person participating in sex tourism, prostitution, or pornography. The victims will often have multiple partners and may be working secretly, hence it will be difficult for them to report abuse. Also, there is a lot of stigma surrounding sex work, which makes it even harder for victims to report. Now let's move to the second category of risk factors, and this is the social environment. This refers to all things in the community or society that would enable abuse of victims. Examples include 1. Lack of institutional support. What does this mean? Here, we are talking about health, legal, education, and administrative systems which often lack efficient mechanisms to prevent and respond to any forms of GBV brought to their attention. This increases chances of victims not getting help when they get attacked by perpetrators. Another example in this category is female genital mutilation. This is a cultural practice that serves to instill lesser status of persons undergoing it, usually girls and women. It is symbolic, and while it marks transition to another stage, it also causes the people going through it to remain subdued in comparison to the opposite gender. Another example in this category is social tolerance of violence. We know that in some societies, it is common for violence to go unreported, and if it is, then no big deal is made of it. It is common in these areas to find spouses beaten or fighting without much intervention to resolve the issues and avoid recurrence. Another important factor to consider in this category is gender superiority, specifically male superiority. This is common in some cultures where the women are considered subordinate with less capacity or not deserving much respect or consideration. In these cultures, the women are more of beasts of burdens subject to the men in society. Another example in this category is disasters. For example, war, famine, and drought. During disasters, the weak are taken advantage of by the strong. It is common for women and children to get abused by people attacking their communities and killing or imprisoning the men. Moving on, we have another example in this category, which is poverty. Poverty leads to frustration and anger. If these are poorly managed, they trigger abusive tendencies in people and can develop into a vicious cycle if not stopped. The last example in this category is childhood marriages. As the name suggests, these are marriages involving children being given or taken in marriage. They lack the capacity to make decisions and have no information nor resources to escape any form of abuse. Now let's move to the third category of risk factors. This category is broadly named relationship factors, and it refers to dynamics in a relationship which can lead to violence depending on history, communication styles, and culture. Under this, we consider family history of violence, which is a major risk factor. Children brought up in violent homes or societies where they witnessed parents fighting or other people close to them undergoing violence are likely to grow into perpetrators or victims of violence. The other factor in this risk category is poor family support. People who lack family support are at risk of developing anger and frustration, which are again triggers for violence. They can do this in their own intimate relationships or even to other people in the society. Now that brings us to the end of this video. As I said before, there is much more to learn about gender-based violence, so click the link below to get the handbook about responding to GBV. Finally, if you liked this video, please share and subscribe for more health education for you and your family. See you in the next series, and remember, do not accept to remain silent about GBV. You could save a life by speaking up.